We are announcing federal charges against two men, Antonio Bonner and Saul Elisme, for large-scale SNAP benefit trafficking, a scheme that turned a program designed to feed families into a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise. SNAP benefits are also known as food stamps. The defendants are charged with one count of food stamp fraud. As alleged in the charging documents, these men abused one of the government's most critical safety net programs for their own financial gain. This is taxpayer money meant to keep people from going hungry. These defendants decided to take it for themselves. These defendants exchanged SNAP benefits for cash, which they pocketed. Bonner, a naturalized U.S. citizen from Haiti, owned the Jesuela Variety Store. Elisme, a lawful permanent resident also from Haiti, owned the Saul Mache Mixe store. These two businesses were co-located within a single storefront in Boston. To be certain, these were not supermarkets. They were not full-service groceries. It would be a huge stretch to even call them convenience stores. In fact, the only thing convenient about these stores was how easy it was to commit SNAP benefit fraud. To put this in perspective, the Jesuela Variety Store is less than 150 square feet in size, smaller than some bathrooms. The Saul Mache Mixe store was approximately 500 square feet in space. By contrast, a supermarket can be 20,000 to 60,000 square feet in size, have a dozen or more registers, and employ numerous employees. Both the Jesuela Variety and Saul Mache Mixe stores had one register, no carriages, no hand baskets, and very little food for sale. One legitimate supermarket in the same area as these stores redeems approximately $80,000 in SNAP benefits per month. Over the last 20 months, the Jesuela Variety Store was redeeming between 3 and 6 times that amount monthly, with nowhere near the space, inventory, customers, or infrastructure to support it. The Saul Mache Mixe store redeemed over $120,000 in SNAP benefits in the last 6 months. Simply put, there is no plausible way SNAP eligible food could have been purchased from these stores for this long. Yet, these two stores are alleged to have illicitly trafficked nearly $7 million in SNAP benefits.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys pulling up. Can I ask you guys a simple question? Seriously, can we finally get liberals to tell the truth and join the fight against the fraud? Seriously. Because I am tired of these stories, tired of watching government programs get looted while politicians pretend everything is fine. We just saw 2 so-called convenience store owners caught stealing $7 million in benefits through a fake setup. That's not an accident. That's not confusion. That is organized fraud. And it keeps happening because our systems are wide open for the taking. And enforcement is weak. And our leaders refuse to admit that there's a problem. This isn't about race. It's about accountability. It's about the fact that when you ignore border security, ignore vetting, ignore background checks, and pretend everyone who enters the country has good intentions, you create an environment where criminal networks flourish. America is generous. We know it. We know we are a generous nation. But generosity without enforcement becomes exploitation. We can't keep importing problems, funding fraud, and acting shocked when it blows up in our faces. Something's got to change, man. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, right now. We need strong oversight, real immigration enforcement, tough penalties for fraud, because if we don't fix this theft, it's not going to stop. It's only going to scale. You know it. I know it. This is ridiculous, man. These dudes, 2 stores, both combined less than about 800 square feet, they were able to steal $7 million. Without a mask, without a weapon, they stole $7 million. Make that make sense.
Jackie, today the president further restricted entry of foreign nationals into the U.S. What do we know about that? Yeah, the president's proclamation expands the administration's existing 12-country travel ban to 5 new countries and also to people with documents from the Palestinian Authority. It also adds partial restrictions to 15 countries, most of them in Africa. The White House cited widespread corruption, fraud, and unreliable documentation and records from those countries as the cause. And it comes after the administration pledged to crack down following the shooting of 2 National Guard soldiers by the White House by an Afghan national. Brad.
Let's stop pretending. Let's stop pretending that this is complicated. When people say America first, borders secured, they're not talking about hate. They're talking about national security backed by data. That's what they're talking about. DHS tracks over 40 high-risk regions. And last year alone, 736 people on the terror watch list were stopped at our borders, the same borders that had 2.4 million encounters, the highest ever recorded in our country. So when the U.S. talks about full travel freezes on the most unstable verified regions and partial restrictions on others, that's not radical. That's what you would call risk management, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you call an administration doing what their jobs are. If a government can't verify identities, can't track passports, or lets terror networks operate openly, then America has every right to say, pause, hold up. No unnecessary risk. This is just common sense, folks. Use the intel, protect Americans first. The outrage isn't about morality. It's politics pretending to be principled. Other nations have already done this. They're already doing it, or they're currently doing it. And I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. I need you guys to see this.
European leaders in favor of a restrictive migration policy are gathering in Budapest today for a meeting of minds. It follows yesterday's vote in Hungary to stop Soros. That's a series of laws that criminalize any individual or group who help asylum seekers, including NGOs. Well, the move defies the EU and human rights groups. Amongst those at the meeting will be Austrian Chancellor Sebastian Kurz, an immigration hardliner, as well as Hungarian leader Viktor Orban. And MPs also passed an amendment saying, and quote, alien population cannot settle in Hungary, outlawing EU attempts to relocate asylum seekers from Italy and Greece. Well, joining us from Paris now is Dutch journalist Stefan de Vries. Stefan, this is, again, another complicated topic. Why is there so much support on tightening restrictions on asylum in Hungary?
Well, Viktor Orban sees himself as the defender of Christian Europe, as the protector, as a perceived Muslim invasion. And this rhetoric brought him a crushing victory in the last elections in April. He won a 2/3 majority in the parliament. And, well, we've seen that in other countries as well. Being tough on immigration attracts voters. We've seen it in Italy, in Austria and other EU member states. And the Stop Soros campaign slogan was a very popular one. Now, George Soros is seen as the person who is organizing this imaginary foreign invasion, because if you look at the numbers, Hungary has actually one of the lowest immigration rates of the whole European Union. But George Soros is seen as the personification of this invasion. And the fact that Soros is Hungarian, well, it probably really bothers Orban, who sees Soros as some traitor of his country. And that may be an explanation why this Stop Soros bill was voted by such a large majority yesterday in Budapest.
I wanted to show that to you guys just to let you know that, hey, we're not alone in this. Here's what actually matters. Public safety and national security policy, not emotional slogans or media spin. And when you look at what's going on over in Europe, we've saw the videos, we've seen the footage over in the UK. The numbers tell a story politicians here refuse to acknowledge. Countries like Hungary and Poland, which enforce some of the strictest immigration controls in the EU, consistently report some of the lowest violent crime and SA rates in Europe. Eurostat data shows that nations with tight border controls, rigorous vetting, and low net migration from unstable regions experience dramatically lower crime per capita compared to Western European states with wide open immigration status or systems. Now, is crime caused by one religious group? No, it's not. And nobody serious should claim that. But what is true is this: countries that control who enters, screen for risk, and prioritize national cohesion tend to have lower crime, fewer trafficking cases, and fewer terrorism-related incidents. That's not ideology, that's security policy 101. Meanwhile, you have people here in America championing mass, unvetted immigration and demonizing any country or leader that says our citizen safety comes first. Why is that so controversial? Since when did protecting your own people become a moral failure? Last year alone, the United States saw 2.4 million border encounters. That's not hyperbole, that is a fact. 736 individuals on the terror watch list that came through. Record spikes in trafficking networks along the southern border. These are facts. And somehow, calling for vetting, control, and national security is treated like extremism. But here's the truth. Nations that manage risk stay safer. Nations that ignore risk pay for it later. And leaders who defend their borders they're not authoritarian. They're doing their job. So before critics lecture Hungary, Poland, or anybody else for that matter about compassion, maybe they should explain why Europe's most open border states are also experiencing the highest crime spikes while the strictest countries aren't. This shouldn't be controversial. It's just common sense. And if America doesn't learn from these examples, well, the numbers coming across our own border, or at least that did come across our own border, tells us exactly where that road leads. That's all I have for you guys today, man. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on any of this. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. Join us Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for ARP in the morning. And as always, keep God first, stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.